Welcome to the Graybeard Chronicles podcast. Your hosts, Brian Halstead and Kevin Harkins, are two gray-bearded patriots who love God, their family and friends, and their country. The Graybeards are here to inspire, inform, and educate you on a myriad of topics they are passionate about. Brian and Kevin have a strong desire to share this with you to help you live your best life. Sit back and enjoy this amazing podcast as the Graybeards pass along the wisdom of the ages.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Graybeard Chronicles. I'm Brian Halstead.
And I'm Kevin Harkins.
And Kevin, we're here to pass along some wisdom of the ages. What the heck does that mean?
We're not perfect, but we do have gray beards. And that means we've got some significant life experience, some life lessons, and some perspectives that are worthy of passing along.
Well, I think that sums it up nicely. Let's get to it. Kevin, good evening, sir. What is going on, man?
Good evening, Bryant. How are you? Can you hear me okay?
I am spectacular. Absolutely spectacular.
You need to take on this character. This is a good character for you. This fits the whole.
Spectacular.
Yes, you got the right voice. You have the imagery. You got it all going on this one.
All right. I don't know what
type everything
to call out that voice, but I know we're bantering back and forth prior to starting, but yeah, just having a little fun.
So I just discovered something for our podcast. I've discovered it long before for other purposes, but we haven't done remote in a while, and
right.
And we all do in this world, a lot more remote meetings these days.
Right.
And when I'm in a remote meeting, I always have my trusty Post-it note and my pen. And when people are talking, if they say something that I want to respond to, I just jot it down and nobody knows what I'm doing. And I can, keep my thoughts clear and on paper. I can do that on this podcast when we're remote. I mean, you see me looking down and wondering what's he writing now, because I'm probably, writing something really important. But I guess I could do that when we're together. I thought it was pretty cool.
The thing that concerns me about that, while I think that's a very good idea, you see this excessive motion of your shoulders and so on, and your hands are out of view. I don't know what you're doing down there. Are you writing notes, or you know what I mean? So just be careful about that in a business type setting. I would caution.
Okay. Yeah, very good. That's a good point too, because some people's minds will go there. Yes, indeed.
Yes, like mine did. The
Yes.
grown-ass 12-year-olds in the group.
Yeah, I won't comment any further on who and why might go there, but there are people, well, kind of like you.
Yes, the Marines of the world.
Mm-hmm. Well, the thing about ambition.
What about it? Are we talking about that tonight?
That's what we're talking about tonight.
Well, that was an interesting way to introduce it. Hey, just random.
I was just sitting here and I thought, how do I do this? And I thought the thing about ambition.
All right.
So I know that you're going to ask me, so I'll just tell you. How'd you come up with this topic, or why did you come up with this topic? And I generally think that ambition is a good thing, and that we as a people, as a human, ambition can be a very positive, powerful force in our lives to propel us forward towards success and accomplishment. You pick it. Maybe you're a musician, maybe you're a motorcycle club member, maybe you're a student, maybe you're an athlete, maybe you're a tradesman. It doesn't matter. Whatever it is that you're doing, and you want to really do it well, and you can use the ambition that you have to sort of progress through that as a very positive force. And I think that's a good thing. But the thing is about ambition is it can get you into some trouble. So let me just stop right there and let you react to all that, because I'll finish it, but I don't want to put it all out there before we have a chance to talk about it a little bit.
Yeah. So the thing that struck me while you were talking about all these positive things to do with ambition is you're absolutely correct, providing that with this caveat, right? That your ambition is following some, moral and ethical guidelines and, legal guidelines, right? And you're not venturing off and using, as I've said before, using use your power for good, not for bad. And, you can have ambition to do a lot of bad stuff. And you're right. That same drive or desire to accomplish something, to achieve something, can be used for achieving great things, positive things in your life, and also not so positive things that don't make good contributions to the world and could potentially be illegal.
Very well said. And that's the thing about ambition. And it can be just as powerful negatively as it can positively. And I think we need to stop and think about that in our own lives and sort of judge ourselves, to try to determine where is my ambition coming from, and what's the drive that's pushing it? What's my motive behind it? And let me give you why I came up with it. Because I still am reading this book called America's First Tycoon. I think that's it, or maybe it's The First Tycoon. It's a book about Cornelius Vanderbilt. And by the way, can you say that in your funny little voice? Isn't that a great name, Cornelius Vanderbilt?
Cornelius Vanderbilt.
There you go.
Cornelius.
Yes. That is a great name. It's a Dutch name. I don't know if you knew that, but I didn't until I read the book.
Well, that kind of gives it away. Yeah.
Yeah, Vanderbilt. But anyway, that you talk about a guy who was, I would say, like obsessed with ambition. And the thing is, he certainly crossed the line where it became a destructive force. But he didn't care. He was like full speed ahead, damn the torpedoes. I am going to succeed at this. And oh, by the way, if I have to crush, not kill, if I had to crush, if I have to beat down, if I have to smash, if I have to ruin other people as I carry out my own ambition, then that's okay. That's fair game, because I'm playing by the rules. I'm just being really brutal about it. And what he started doing early on in his, he was not born a wealthy man. He was born into a typical middle-class family, and was born on Staten Island, and had access to New York Harbor, and sailed the goods and services from his local community from Staten Island up to Manhattan Island, and back and forth and back and forth. And that kind of got him introduced to that whole lifestyle. But then he ended up buying small sailboats, and then larger sailboats, and then ultimately, when steam driven power came out, ended up buying boats, and was one of the first. That's how he got his start, was running passenger boats from point A to point B. And what he would do to beat his competition is he just kept cutting the price. And even though both boats were going from New York City to Providence, Rhode Island, he would reduce the fee so far that everybody came to him. And so, and he just didn't care what it was doing to the, he said, I'm going to add better value to their lives, because they can travel the same route on my boat for cheaper than they can on yours. And, but take that concept and multiply it.
All the while still being able to cover his costs, I would hope, right?
Right.
Still making a profit in order to stay in business.
Right. But in some cases, just barely. And as he got older, and as he had more money, he could afford to cover the costs, even if he was losing money, he would do it for the long-term play. Because he said, if I can put my competitor out of business now, and I have to lose some money in the short term, I'm going to gain money in the long term. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that he would do routinely.
That's a pretty serious gamble, because there's no guarantee you're going to be able to sustain that constant sucking sound that your money is making as it leaves your bank account, because you're just running it into the toilet while you're trying to, do away with one of your competitors. And
Yeah.
I've seen it done too. So, but that, that's definitely, that's some interesting ambition right there. You wonder what the driving force behind that is.
It really is interesting. And that's actually what captured my attention, my imagination. And the thing that's interesting about it, okay, so let me just ask you today, this minute, and I know you haven't read a book on it. You probably haven't spent a lot of time thinking about it. There's this Vanderbilt name, money out there. It's an iconic American history, big money person and family throughout the generations.
Right.
What is your general feeling about the reputation of Vanderbilt?
I don't know if I have a general feeling other than, just the word success comes to mind.
Yeah.
Successful, long-standing family with a history of success and wealth.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah. About the only thing I could add to it without diving into it further.
Same, exactly the same for me. And when he was alive, so people viewed him in one of two camps. They either admired the heck out of him for his gravitas, his balls, and the things that he would do, or they couldn't stand him. They hated how competitive he was, how aggressive he was, how cutthroat he was. They hated his ambition because they thought it had gone too far. And it obviously led to, in his lifetime, self-made guy, started out with basically nothing. And by the time he died, he was the Elon Musk of his day. He was the richest man in the world when he died in his 80s. I think he was 82 or something like that. But do you care? And I'm asked that rhetorically. Do we care when you're carrying out this ambition and you're moving down this path? The question is, do you care what other people think, or should you care? And so I'll bounce all the way back and then let you respond to two words that you used in the very first salvo that you put out: morally, ethically, sort of balanced.
Yeah. So I think, ambition is one of those things that I think can take on a bunch of different faces and be specific to a bunch of different areas, right? So it's it's that desire to achieve something, to succeed in something, acquire a possession, whatever. But I think it can take on, like I said, different faces. So, for an example, I think you can have, blind ambition, where and to me, that's the desire to have it with no freaking idea in the world or a plan on how you're going to accomplish it.
Okay.
That's just kind of like, you mentioned a sailboat earlier. It's like a rudderless sailboat. It's got the wind, and that's the desire, but it's just going to go where the wind blows it because you're not steering it and you don't have a plan. And then, there's all kinds of different, in my mind, different types of ambition. If you think about it like a wheel of life and you divide that into like slices of pie, you could have, divine ambition and all that entails. In fact, one of the things I came across in doing a little research on this is the one and primary form of ambition that you should work on based on your beliefs, obviously. But if you're looking at the Bible, right, the number one ambition is to develop the relationship with God, and to accept, God as your savior and so on. And so that's number one. And then, that should take the lead, and anything else should be, subordinate to that. But you've got, I don't know, charitable ambition. You've got emotional ambition. You've got what I'd call achievement or accomplishment ambition, where it's that mere desire to set something out there as a goal and accomplish it. And you might find out that, you're really not all that happy with what it was that you accomplished. The satisfaction for you was in actually doing it. That makes sense. There's people that are hooked on that, right? So it's those folks that, make the to-do lists every day and check the boxes off. And then, and I've done this too, but you do something that wasn't on your list and you quick, create a box for that, put it on your list so you can see that, this is what I've accomplished today. And I think there's some good things about that. Then there's also, the material ambition, right? So that desire to acquire and to have things. And, while I think that's not necessarily bad, just got to be careful and make sure that is subordinate to the one I talked about previously. And, leading the pack out there is that divine ambition and the importance of that.
Yeah, that is interesting and important for sure. Yeah. So I guess what I would say to people who are listening is that I think ambition, because I like to interpret things in a positive way, ambition is a very good thing, and you can use it to propel yourself, to channel yourself, to focus yourself into incredible accomplishments and successes in your life. And but there always has to be a balance. You can overdo it, and where that balance is, the interesting thing there is it's different for every person. Some people think that they're pegging out as far as they can on ambition, and they're not going to stop till they get there. They too have a limit. Everybody does, but where it is different for each person. But just for your own well-being, know where that edge is and keep it in check.
Yeah.
And
I mean, ambition's a choice, right? So don't be judgy of people just because you might not see them having the same level of ambition that you have. That's okay. Right. Remember, it's a drive, it's a desire. They might not have that same drive or desire to accomplish what it is that you want to accomplish. And
right.
So be it, right? We're not all the same. In fact, we're all very different.
You remind me of right. Something about what you just said reminded me of another true story that I observed personally on TV. When Tiger Woods won, I think it was when he won his first Masters. I think it was the U.S. Open. I may not be first major golf tournament. Yeah. And he was being interviewed by Bob Costas, and Bob Costas, was the guy at that time. He was the guy that had all the big gigs, and he was sitting across from Tiger, and Tiger had just turned pro. I think he'd been pro for less than a year. And he said, "Wow, you are off to this incredible start. And do you realize that you could be the greatest black golfer of all times?"
Why is it going to be a black golfer?
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly right. And Tiger looked at him. Golfer. And Tiger looked at him and said, "I want to be the greatest golfer of all times, the greatest golfer of everyone. Why did you put black?" It was a really interesting interview. And you could see that Bob Costas' interpretation of Tiger's ambition was here, and Tiger's perception of himself was way up here. And it was just two people completely missing each other. And because they were interpreting that idea of ambition. Do you realize you could be the greatest black golfer of all time? Tiger was like, "What are you talking about?"
Yeah.
I can be the greatest golfer ever. Don't put the black part on it. I mean, no, I can be better than everybody. And it was really interesting. So there you go.
Yeah, that is an interesting story, and man, we could take that off on a whole nother path about, and we've probably even talked about that on previous podcasts about how people use, race as a descriptor like that.
Right.
Yeah, just I'm with you. It doesn't. No, not the greatest black golfer ever.
Right.
Greatest golfer ever. Get rid of that other tag that you keep putting on me, that label. Yeah.
That's the thing about ambition, Brian.
All right. It's a beautiful thing.
Beautiful thing.
Appreciate you bringing it up, and keep it in check, right? Ambition is a great thing as long as it's in check and you're the one controlling it.
There you go.
Don't let it get out of control and venture off into areas it shouldn't be.
Yeah.
or neglect cause you to neglect things that you shouldn't be neglecting.
Right. Right.
All right. Well, I'm going to get ambitious and reach over here and hit this button. And then say something like this. No matter who you are, where you are, what you're doing, make sure between this podcast and the next, you take time to enjoy
the ride.
That was spectacular.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Graybeard Chronicles. Please subscribe so you'll receive notification when new episodes are available. To learn more about the Graybeards, visit their website, graybeardchronicles.com.